Deep Threat Sports Network fans, welcome back. We're here with another fantastic episode. Tonight, you have Bryant and myself. And on this particular episode, we're going to discuss Deep Threat Sports Network's 2025 Players Watch List. Going to kind of go through each conference here. We're not going to forget the G5 and the independent conferences here a little bit. Talk about those things. And right now, Brian, it just seems like college football is kind of not really in a lull, but it's kind of slowed down a little bit. The draft's over, the transfer portal is kind of winding down. No more guys bouncing around so much. Teams are kind of settling in. You don't hear as much about the spring football games as much anymore. You have some teams kind of opting out of playing those games. So Brian and I decided that we're going to go ahead and roll out our Deep Threat Sports Network player watch list. Bryant, real quick, do you have anything big on your mind with college football that you want to address before we really move on here into this thing?
Not a whole lot. Like you said, it's slow. If there's really an off season in college football, it's the month of May. I was listening to a podcast that I listen for Mizzou every week, and he was like, we don't have much to talk about this week. We're just going to do a show about random questions you want to ask me. So that shows how slow it is right now. 11 months of the year, besides this one, it seems like there's always some sort of news or portal or games or whatever going on. But right now, not a whole lot. So that's what we're going to kind of jump ahead to 2025 and talk about some players that we think could be impact players for their respective teams. Really excited for this show. And honestly, I was watching college football highlights earlier, missing football. So it's going to be nice to talk about the players for next season in the show.
Hey, I don't want to fast forward time by any stretch of the imagination. I'm getting older. My kids are getting older. You're getting older. I don't want to fast forward time, but college football could definitely come, and I would not be upset with that. And to your point, though, I would love, like, my goal for us is our fan base to get big enough where we can do episodes like that, where we have, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions from people out there that they drop in, and we can discuss things like that because that's really fun. And you kind of come in here and we shoot from the hip when they have questions like that. I know throughout the season, we had some followers drop us some questions and we tried to answer almost all of them. And that was actually really, really fun. But so, Bryant, let's get into this thing, man. And real quick, obviously, we talked about this before over and over again. Dave's in a different time zone now. It is hard to line up all the time. He's working late hours. And when we kind of go on Thursday nights, it's a late night for him at work. So it doesn't always line up, but Dave will be here, especially throughout the season. But Bryant, let's get into the G5 and the independent football teams here a little bit. Who do you have for your Deep Threat Sports Network watch list players to be on the lookout for in the 2025 college football season?
Yeah, so just kind of a spoiler alert, a lot of my picks in this show are going to be chalk, but they're going to be the impact players that everybody's been watching and or watched last season. So this first one's no shock to anyone. It's Jeremiah Love, running back from Notre Dame. I think everybody saw in the playoff how dynamic he can be. He runs with the ball with authority, can finish plays, and he was even hurt in a bunch of those games. So it showed how good he can be. So if he stays healthy next season, he'll have a great year. True sophomore coming into this next season. He had a little over 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. He's going to be their number one running back, bell cow for this team. Going to be a player they lean on with losing some quality players on the offensive side of the ball from last season. He needs some work in the receiving game, but a lot of quarterbacks are running backs in college do. So looking for a big year from Jeremiah Love there in South Bend.
Yeah, and Brian, a little bit about Jeremiah Love too is there are some people out there that are projecting him when he rolls into the draft to be a first round draft pick as a running back position. We kind of saw that come back into play a little bit in this 2025 draft. Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, just a couple names that really rolled out in that first half. Maybe the Saquon Barkley effect in the NFL is kind of bringing the running back position back to life a little bit here. But my player for our watch list, and this is actually going to be a G5 team. Blake Horvath, quarterback from Navy. He was a guy that we talked a little bit about on this show last season, and his name even got into some Heisman conversations there for a little bit. Obviously, it kind of fell off, but I mean, this guy was a real stud, real momentum shifter for Navy. And, outside of Ashton Genty, for obvious reasons, this was arguably the best player in all of G5 last season, Bryant. He really led this Navy football team to do great things. He threw for over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. Doesn't sound like a lot when you think about college football quarterbacks, but when you think about Navy, that's a hell of a lot. That's a hell of a lot of passing yards for a Navy quarterback. 13 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Those are really good numbers for a Navy quarterback. Also, his most staggering numbers, in my opinion, he rushed for 1,254 yards and 17 touchdowns. This guy had a lot of grit, a lot of tenacity. and really put that football team on his back. And I am excited to see what Blake Horvath has to offer with another season under his belt coming back for this Navy football team.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth and you said, 13 touchdowns is not crazy, but at Navy, that probably is a record. I don't know for sure, but it's got to be close. This guy reminds me a lot of Taysom Hill, and honestly, I think he's probably better. I think he's going to play in the next level. He showed last season what he can do. That dude can run the football, and he's just as good of a passer as well. So, I mean, Navy played a lot of good teams, and they beat some good teams. And into the last season, Army Navy were hoping was going to be for a playoff spot. It almost was because of how good they were, but didn't quite get there. But Blake Horvath had an unreal season for our Navy school here for the U.S.
Absolutely. And speaking of Dave a second ago, Dave did get in here and drop some players that he wants us to talk about. Bryant and I are going to kind of alternate back and forth here a little bit on who Dave has down in some of his notes. And I'll take this first one, Bryant. Dave had down Leonard Moore, cornerback from Notre Dame. This guy is arguably the most impactful returning cornerback in all of college football. He had an 82.5 man coverage rating, which was third among all corners in the nation. Only allowed 16 catches on 42 targets. And what I really like about him that stands out to me as well is he's a lengthy cornerback. He's 6'2" and can really get in that man coverage and can lock you down and take away the best receiver on the opponent's team and really get out there, cover the deep ball, cover underneath. He can get inside. I mean, this is a really damn good cornerback. And it seems like Notre Dame is really good at developing and producing stud cornerbacks. I mean, we just saw one go in the draft. And I mean, this is a really, really good player for this Notre Dame Irish football team.
Absolutely. This was a good pick from David. A lot of my guys I thought of were on the offensive side of the ball, but a lot of times the best teams have the best defense. And Leonard Moore was arguably a really good player for them last year, even though he wasn't the main threat on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think. And expect a big year for him, especially the numbers he put up as a younger player. So as he progresses and gets better and gets more reps underneath him, he's going to be a player definitely to watch in 2025. So, that Notre Dame defense, I think, is going to be just as stingy as it has been the past few seasons.
Without a doubt, he flew under the radar, pun intended, just because I mean there was so many good players on that team that he wasn't one that's got all the hype and all the conversation. But expect to hear his name a lot this season. So Bryant, let's move into the Big 12 here, and I have three. Bryant has three. We're going to kind of alternate as well, and then we'll take over Days right here at the end as well. So Bryant, kick us off with who you have down right away for you in the Big 12.
So these are no specific order, just three players I thought they were going to be players to watch from this conference. My first one is Sam Levitt, quarterback at Arizona State. Everybody saw him play alongside Scattaboo in the Peach Bowl against Texas. That was probably the only really primetime game that people were watching him, but they saw what he can do. He's dynamic in and out, inside and outside the pocket. He's not afraid to lower the shoulder and gain a few extra yards. He had almost 3,000 yards passing and 24 touchdowns last season. And his receiving core got better this past year, in my opinion, and coming to the season, in my opinion. He played very well in that game. Like I mentioned, he's a poised player. He's very accurate. The only thing he's going to have to worry about is if he likes to be a runner, which it seems he appears to be, he's going to have to maybe slide and get down and save his body a little bit. But, Sam Levitt's getting talks of being one of the top QBs coming out into the NFL next season. We'll see if he can build on what he did last year at Arizona State. They have a relatively easy schedule from what I was looking at coming up in this coming season. So we'll see if he can throw with big numbers and make himself a paycheck for the next level.
Yeah, I'm a big Sam Levitt guy. To your point, you're hearing his names in draft conversations all the time, and he has a dynamic stud receiver that you're hearing brought up in mock drafts for the 2026 NFL draft as well that we might touch on here in just a minute. But the one that I'm going to lead off with is Dante Corleone. He's a defensive lineman from Cincinnati. And Brian, this is a guy that is kind of a forgotten name due to some serious health concerns he dealt with in the offseason last year coming into the season, kind of setting back a little bit. But let's not forget, throughout 2022 and 2023 season, he was the highest graded interior defensive lineman in college football. This guy is a freak among freaks, and this guy is a absolute game wrecker. He did come back after some health concerns last season, if I recall. I think he was having some blood clot issues, and he seemed to get that lined out and was good to go and good to move on with his career, which is fantastic news because this is a guy that will definitely play at the next level. And he is as good as it gets in the run game and can flat out get after the passer, shoot the gap, anticipate the play. This is the best player on this Cincinnati football team. And be on the lookout for him if anybody out there that's listening to us watches a Cincinnati football game. He will stand out, I promise you.
Dude, this dude is 6'1", 320, and he's built like Aaron Donald. Like the dude is not he does not have fat on him. He's straight muscle. It's insane and how fast he moves to being that big. Like you mentioned, I hope he gets the health concerns cleaned up because he's as good as they come, especially on the inside of that defensive line for any team, but especially Cincinnati. Good pick here. He's definitely going to be a player to watch next season for
I
that
would
defense.
I would anticipate he is uh, all conference first team in the Big 12 without a question at that position. I think he is probably the best pass rusher in the Big 12.
Oh, 100%, especially if we're talking strictly defensive alignment, interior for sure. I think you can argue maybe some DN guys, but that big and that mobile in the inside is hard to come by, especially in college football. Now it seems like those guys are 380 pounds, kind of just gap stuffer type players. Like the guy you saw get drafted out of Florida was like 460
Yeah,
pounds. Seems
yeah,
like they're more like that rather than the quick and muscular mobile guy
yeah. The
like
old
Willie
Vince
Jones.
Wilfork, the old Vince
Yes.
Wilfork prototype.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for this guy. Cannot wait. Who else do you have on your list here, Bryant?
I'm going quarterback again. I'm going Jake Retzlaff with BYU, quarterback for that team. Had almost 3,000 yards last year and 20 touchdowns. His only issue was the interceptions. He had 12, but BYU is a big play West Coast style air raid offense, and you're going to have that occasionally. But if he can cut that down, BYU was a great team, especially at home last season. And I think a lot of that is due to how Retzlaff played. So he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this conference, in my opinion. He's not getting quite the hype as some other quarterbacks in the country, but I think he deserves it. The dude is very poised in the pocket, similar to Sam Levitt. He doesn't quite run as much, but he is just as mobile. We'll see if he can cut back on the turnovers a little bit in 2025 and take that step forward that we hope he does.
I'm glad you brought him up because he's a name that people have already forgotten about. And
Absolutely.
through 3 quarters of the season, really after the first quarter of the season, Jake Retzlaff was a guy that no team wanted to go play, especially at Provo. I mean, he's the real deal, man, and he's a great quarterback for BYU. And BYU always finds like their guy, like the Taysom Hills, the what was the forgetting the guy that was just there a couple years ago
Zach
that
Wilson.
was after Zach Wilson. There was another. It was Taysom Hill, Zach Wilson, and somebody else. Right? It was right after him that was just like Taysom Hill and Zach Wilson.
I can't
I
remember.
forget. I'm forgetting his name, but they just have that guy that will tuck it and run it, run you over, make big time throws, and it just works. It just works for BYU. They're well coached. Really excited to see what Jake Retzlaff has to offer with another season as well.
Got one more point about him, Colin.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of people in the conference that have Avery Johnson, and I know, spoiler alert, he's on your list. But Jake Retzlaff, he outplayed Avery Johnson last year in the game that they played. He was the better quarterback by a long shot in that game. Yeah, that was one game, doesn't dictate the whole season, but that just goes to show how good he can be, especially when he's on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the guy that I was thinking of was Jaron Hall. I mean, they just to throw that back out there, but yeah, they always have their guys. And yes, spoiler, I do have Avery Johnson. Anybody that follows our show knows that I have some kind of a crush on Avery Johnson. So everybody could probably anticipate that I was going to talk about him. So I might as well go ahead and throw this out there. Avery Johnson, quarterback, Kansas State, is a guy that's on my list for our Deep Threat Sports Network show. And Bryant, he is a guy that truly, if he puts all the pieces together, has true first round potential in the NFL. This is a guy that, for me, I feel comfortable when he's at the quarterback position. You could see there was some growing pains. But the reason I think I have the most, comfort with him in the Big 12 at the quarterback position is because Kansas State was completely okay from moving on from Will Howard to get to Avery Johnson. They were completely okay with letting Will Howard go, and you see Will Howard go win a national championship. So it may not look like it was the right decision right now, but Avery Johnson is a better quarterback all around than Will Howard. He had a year of experience. Kleiman's a great coach at Kansas State. They have their offensive coordinator back for another year. You have that continuity, and I think you see Avery Johnson take the next step. He's naturally gifted running the football, has incredible touch on the pass. He's quick at reading defenses and picking up the pressure, but he also needs to take a next step with that as well. That's where his flaws are, is when the play breaks down, what to do next, rather than just tucking and running. Sometimes you don't always have to do that, but when he does get out of the pocket, he is a very damn good mobile quarterback. I am completely sold on Avery Johnson. I think he takes that next step, and I'm going to say that I think he ends up being the first team All Big 12 conference quarterback over Levitt, Retzlaff. That's just my take. It may not be the most popular opinion because I know Sam Levitt is getting all of that love, but I think Kansas State is better suited to have Avery Johnson have success. I know what we just saw with Arizona State, but I do think Kansas State gets it back at a high tempo and running hot this season.
Yeah, you made a great point that he really doesn't have many flaws, but his flaw is maybe tucking and running too soon and not trying to make a big play. If he can maybe say screw it and I'm going to go Cam Ward here for a few drives and just chuck that ball down the field, and try to make a big play, I think that would bode well for him. If he can get some more big plays, I mean, everybody's going to talk about Avery Johnson. And another thing I like, you kind of hit on it too, is Avery Johnson is Kansas State's guy. He's not going to look over. He doesn't have anybody to look over his shoulder that might be coming to play behind him, and that's big for a quarterback, especially a guy that's relatively younger as he was this past season. So I definitely agree with you. I think he could be one of the more improved players in this conference and maybe all of the country. So exciting things to see from Avery Johnson at K State next season.
Well, and to your point, I like that last year, sometimes when things weren't going right, they let him work through those growing pains. They understood that, hey, this is just part of the process. This is going to help us build this guy. It's going to help us build our program throughout the rest of his career at Kansas State. I'm really glad he didn't transfer. I'm really glad that he's sticking with this program. I think it works really, really well for him. And to your point, sometimes he makes more mistakes trying not to make a mistake. Get the ball out, trust your abilities, and let her fly. Because I mean, you have all the talent in the world. The the sky is the limit for Avery Johnson.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what K State does last year. They had a few games back and forth last season that kind of cost them a better winning percentage and record. And I definitely think they can bounce forward in 2025, but we'll see. Next guy I got on my list, the last dude I'm going to talk about in the Big 12 here is Spencer Fano, offensive tackle, Utah. A lot of guys may not know this dude, but PFF just released their preseason All American rankings this past week, I believe. And he's on that list first team. He's the number one rated run blocker for them this past season, and he's top 30 at the pass protection as well. So this guy is well rounded, can do both things. He's a big dude. He's going to be one of the best offensive tackles in college football, in my opinion. So looking forward, big. He's not going to be the guy that's going to be, he's a lineman, so he's not going to have the spotlight on him, but he honestly probably should. So Spencer Furneaux, everybody keep an eye on him out of Utah.
He is a big boy, and it would not surprise me if he's the first name called off the board in the 2026 draft at the offensive line position, especially the tackle position. This guy's the real deal. If he can improve the pass blocking a little bit and get his pass grade up, there's no doubt in my mind he'll be the first tackle taken off the board. He
Yeah,
is a true difference maker.
well, you're already top 30 in the offensive tackle rankings. That's still quite impressive. And then he's number
Oh,
one at
absolutely.
run, like I mentioned. So if he can become even more well rounded, watch out.
Yeah, anytime you get another year on the offensive line, it's a massive help. Especially, I mean, you're playing Division 1 day in day out talent that has NFL capabilities. You get that year under your belt to improve. This guy's, I mean, an absolute freak, and like we both said, he is a big human being.
Yeah,
So
and
the
I
go
got
ahead.
one thing to add about Utah. It's kind of off topic. It's kind of sad news, but Cam Rising has medically retired from college football after his 15th season.
Yeah,
Um,
7 or 8 years later,
yeah,
legitimately.
tough news. I'm still not sold. He might come back. We never know, but just wanted to throw that in there. I think that dude's probably older than me and you.
Yeah, what does Utah look like without Cam Rising, at least on the sidelines? He might be a coach. I mean, they may just bring him back and just be a coach. I mean, he's been there long enough. He's a part of the staff by now. So, yeah, Cam Rising, man, I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave. I'm glad we're moving on as this Utah program. But the next guy I'm going to talk about, I'm going to stay right here with Kansas State, is Austin Romaine. He's a linebacker there at Kansas State, and I'm going to say that he is a top 2 or 3 linebacker in all of college football, and according to PFF, he was the highest graded linebacker in 2024 with a 91 rating according to them. 90.7 run grade on the defensive side of the ball, can flat get after the passer when he's blitzing, forces fumbles, blows blockers up to get to the ball carrier, has a real nose for the football, finds his way involved in every single play, can get sideline to sideline. This guy's the real deal. He has next level capability, and I think he is a true difference maker. He's probably going to be the captain on this K State defense, if I had to guess. And he truly can make big time plays to get the offense the ball back. I'm sold on Austin Romaine. I'm sold on what he has to offer on this Kansas State football team. And quite frankly, Bryant, I'm here to say it again, like I did last year. I'm sold on Kansas State yet again. And I'm sure we'll get to that down the road in one of our later episodes. But they have some really key pieces on both sides of the ball. And it starts with Austin Romaine and Avery Johnson.
Yeah, I think Austin Romaine was probably the best linebacker in this conference besides Stutzman in Oklahoma last year. He definitely showed it, like you mentioned. So definitely looking forward for a big year for him coming up in 2025. That dude is as dynamic as they come at the linebacker position.
Without a doubt. But Bryant, I'm going to let you talk about Dave's pick since you had his quarterback and get into this Jordan Tyson pick here. Spoiler, because he is arguably the best receiver after the one and only Jeremiah Smith in college football.
Yeah, well, you kind of spoiled what I was going to say. I think on the show here, we think that Tyson's probably the third best receiver behind the top two obvious ones in college football. Almost 1,100 yards last year. 729 of those were in the final 6 games. This dude is so dynamic. If he wasn't hurt in the postseason in that Peach Bowl, I think Arizona State probably wins. But like we mentioned, him and Levitt are going to be probably one of the more dynamic duos in all of the country coming into 2025. This dude has NFL capabilities. He's got the length, he's got the speed, he's got it all. Let's watch out for Jordan Tyson. I think he's the number one receiver in this conference.
What I like about Jordan Tyson, and we just hinted at it, is you have Jeremiah Smith and you have Ryan Williams, right? Those are the two best gifted receivers in all of college football. But what I like about Jordan Tyson, just a smidge more, is nothing with his talent because those two are absolute best of their positions, and they would have been the top two receivers taken in this last year's draft. Would be the top two in next year's draft. They're not eligible, but they would be. These guys are freaks. But what I like about Jordan Tyson a little bit more than those guys is the fact that Jordan Tyson has Sam Levitt coming back as his quarterback. They have that continuity. They know what they have in each other. They can rely on one another. And what they did in the final 6 games of the regular season, Bryant, was staggering. It was unbelievable stuff from those two guys. I am ecstatic to watch what those two can do with another full season. Hopefully, they both stay healthy because I do believe that they could be the best duo in college football.
Yeah, I think we're talking about these two guys, and Arizona State might be one of the teams to watch in the Big 12 next season just because of these two guys. So I'm sure we'll talk about that in depth later on, but love Jordan Tyson. Like I mentioned, this guy's definitely going to play at the next level if he stays healthy. And I'm looking forward to a big season from him 2025 for sure.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the ACC here. And Bryant, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. And spoiler alert, this Clemson defense is really, really good. So you might hear a couple of those guys here. But I'm going to lead off with Peter Woods, defensive lineman from Clemson. I'm definitely comfortable saying he's a first round pick in next year's draft. He's a true game wrecker. He's 6'3, 315 with a 14.9% winning pass rush rate since 2023. Highest graded power four defensive tackle in college football. This guy, I say it often, but not often enough. This guy is a game record difference maker, and he will blow up offensive lines. Be on the lookout for Peter Woods. Other opposing teams' offensive lines fear this guy. And the fact that he's going to have another guy that I'm going to talk about right alongside him is just scary. The Peter Woods is the real damn deal. And whenever you are playing him and you're an opposing team's fan, you are going to hate this guy. He's going to be in your backfield early and often all football game.
Absolutely. I mean, Dabo's always got a defensive line that's absolutely stacked, and it's going to be no different this season. This guy reminds me of a former Clemson player in Christian Wilkins. Can do absolutely everything. Like I mentioned with Corleone, this guy's big, he's built, and he's fast. Like you mentioned, everything he has, he's got the highest. He's the highest graded power forward defensive tackle for a reason. And like you mentioned, there's other players on the defensive line he's not gonna get double teamed because they can't. So that's going to open him up to make plays, and I think you're definitely going to see him make plays in this season. That's a good pick because a lot of people didn't really like Clemson last year because they weren't as dynamic on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense was absolutely stout. So we're going to see that continue this year for sure. You got
Their
anything else
defense
to
is
add
going to
on
be
him?
better this year, Bryant.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and he's definitely one of the main reasons for sure.
Man, scary stuff. Who do you
Yeah,
got?
I'm going to stick with Clemson. I'm going to flip the side of the ball, other side of the ball. I'm going to go with quarterback Cade Klubnik. Had a lot of criticism last year, which some was deserving, but I don't think a whole lot of it was. He didn't have quite the weapons, but the dude still had almost 3,700 yards passing and 36 touchdowns. He's a preseason All American this coming year, according to PFF. In my opinion, is probably one or two when the quarterbacks going into possibly going into the draft next season. This dude can do it all. He takes care of the ball, and he was highly recruited for a reason. Look for him to make a step forward and become that all-around player that I think a lot of people expected last season. But he was a young guy. He's going into his junior year, so I'm excited to watch him. The ACC quarterbacks aren't as strong this season, so I think he's probably one of the better ones. So look forward to a breakout year for Cade Klubnik, second year as a starter under Dabo in this offense.
Yeah, I think that next year's step again with Cade Klubnik is going to be the true difference maker. And I really think you saw a lot of progress in him throughout the season. Towards the last quarter of the season, he was the real damn deal. I was pretty hard on him early on because I felt like he didn't trust he was so nervous to make a mistake, didn't trust himself, was afraid to let the ball fly. And once he kind of let all that out and just put the critics aside and just let the ball air out, he became a much better quarterback. He can get up and run it too if he needs to. He can go get you a first down on the ground. He is really damn good. And I'm excited to see what this Clemson team has to offer. And it starts with Cade Klubnik on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, I do think he will be a first round quarterback taken in next year's draft. I think it all depends where he goes as a quarterback in that draft, based upon how some of these guys that we're going to talk about on our list so far on our watch list. And it all obviously comes down to what does that Arch Manning guy do if he goes, if he stays, things like that. But I do think Cade Klubnik definitely has first round ability for next year's draft. And while we're on Clemson, Brian, I'm going to stay right there yet again. A lot of Clemson talk in this ACC segment. That may be a tipping point as to who we think might come win the ACC this year on our later episode. But I'm going to take the guy that's lining up right next to Peter Woods, and that's TJ Parker, the defensive end from Clemson. Just like I said with Peter Woods, I'm very confident saying TJ Parker is a first round draft pick in 2026 as well. Everything I said about Peter Woods, I could say right now again about TJ Parker. But he had 12 sacks in 2024, leads all returners in that category, 80 plus pass grade as a pass rush and a run defender. And he just bullies offensive linemen. This guy is a freak coming off the edge. It to your point a second ago, it always seems like Clemson and Dabo just have things right on the defensive line, and they constantly produce studs. That's why I'm also sold on this guy. He's going to bully ACC offensive linemen, Brian. I mean, this is not going to be fun for ACC quarterbacks, ACC offensive coordinators, ACC offensive linemen. These two guys together are just going to absolutely manhandle opposing teams. Good luck running the ball. Good luck keeping your quarterback upright. Would not want to play Clemson at all this season.
Yeah, when you're 6'3" and 270 pounds that can move like that, I don't know how you get stopped. I mean, it's like they make these guys in the lab, and he's definitely one of them. As dynamic as they get at that position, possibly one of the best defensive ends in the country, in my opinion. Has all the moves, can swim you, can duck under, can bull rush you,
Yep.
can sometimes even drop back and tip the ball in the passing game as
Yep.
well. So he's as dynamic as they get. Definitely, I agree with you. He's going to be a first round talent if he stays healthy. Big things coming from this Clemson defense for sure. And the two guys you mentioned are probably one and two are the reasons why it's going to be so good.
Well, to your point, man, he just has so many moves. Like he doesn't repeat the same move that often. I mean, he's mixing it up. I mean, he's spin moving, he's finesse moving. I mean, he's got it all. He's going to push him right back. He's just got everything. And that's what I love about this guy. That's why I think they have two of the best defensive players in the ACC, if not all of the country. So, really excited to watch them get after it. Who you got on your list next?
My next one is a little bit of an under the radar guy, at least maybe in the the fan spotlight, but it's Miller Moss, quarterback for Louisville. He transferred in for USC. Everybody in the country that had a quarterback opening wanted this guy to transfer to their team. He chose Louisville. Interesting pick, but he's going to be the starter because Tyler Shell left to the NFL. I don't think Miller Moss is probably the most dynamic quarterback out there, but I strictly picked him because of Jeff Brom. Um, Jeff Brom, we talked about it many times, is one of the best coaches in the country. Like I just mentioned, he got Tyler Shell drafted the number third quarterback in this last draft. Nobody saw that. He's going to work his magic with Miller Moss. If he can cut down the interceptions, he had 12 last year. He's going to be great. He's similar to Cade Klubnik last year when he made kind of dumb plays when he was trying to not to make dumb plays. So if he can cut down on that, he could be one of the better quarterbacks in this conference. So that's why I stuck him on here on this list.
I like Miller Moss. I think you and I are on record talking about on one of our shows how we wouldn't be upset if Miller Moss came to Mizzou when he was in the portal. I know Mizzou looked at him pretty heavy. I think he narrowed it down to Mizzou and Louisville, and I was completely okay with that. What you said is 100% correct. It's the Jeff Brom effect. It's the fact that he's with Jeff Brom as to why I believe in Miller Moss. And another reason, too, it's going to sound crazy because he just left there. But man, he just played with Lincoln Riley, who is really good with quarterbacks, probably taught him a lot. Another year of growth, goes out, and now he's going to be with Jeff Brom, who I think is even better, if not arguably one of the best coaches in all of college football. He wins everywhere he goes. I love this pick by you. Miller Moss is flying under the radar. Most people probably forgot that Miller Moss even transferred to Louisville, Bryant. So I don't think he's going to be anywhere near a first round talent, but I didn't think Tyler Show was either. So to your point, he can really get it done. I think he has a better offensive game plan at Louisville than he did USC. I think he has some better talent to throw the ball to at Louisville than he did USC. Really good move for him. I'm really excited to see how this plays out because I think Miller Moss does have all the intangibles. Just be a little smarter with the football. He's got that moxie back there. I mean, he seems to be pretty comfortable in the pocket. I'm a Miller Moss fan, so I'm excited for this move.
Absolutely. I think he's going to be, like I mentioned, if he can be more dynamic and just kind of play free flowing, like we've seen him do at times this past year at USC, he's going to have a chance to excel. And he's not going to have the crazy spotlight like you have at USC as the quarterback. So look for Miller Moss this season. Like I mentioned, he's kind of under the radar. I don't think he'll be that way at the end of the year.
So the next guy I'm gonna talk about here is Francis Mauigoa, the tackle from Miami. And if he's not, if Spencer Fano is not the first tackle taken, it's probably because Francis Mauigoa had one hell of a season and he was the first tackle taken in the draft next year. Without question, should be top three in that category at least. He's a massive human being, big body tackle, doesn't allow batted passes, keeps the quarterback upright, excels in the run game, does everything you need him to do that you can rely on as an offensive tackle. You should feel comfortable if you're the quarterback back there. I think Carson Beck is in good hands behind him at the offensive line. He's going to keep him upright, allow him to have some time in the pocket, make him feel comfortable. And he just gives me like good leader vibes out there when you're in the huddle or even when you're in the hurry up. I feel like he just gives good vibes. I'm a big Francis Mauigoa fan. I love what this guy has to offer. I love everything he does at the tackle position. Look for him to be, if not first, if not second, top three in the offensive tackle category in the draft next season. This guy's the real deal. Should be first team all conference at this position.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think behind the scenes, this guy was one of the main reasons Cam Ward and Damian Martinez and that Miami offense was so good. And I think if you asked them too, and you asked him why were you guys so good besides how you played, I think he'd be probably one of the main answers because our tackles were so good, and he's the reason why. So, I mean, this guy's like you mentioned, one of the best tackles coming back. He was going to be on my list if he wasn't on yours. So good call there. He's going to fly under the radar because, like I mentioned with Fano, he's a lineman. But a lot of times the linemen are the best players on the team, and he's going to be one of the best players on this Miami team, maybe even in the conference. So good pick there. Miami's going to be maybe not as dynamic as last year, but they definitely could be, and he's going to be one of the reasons why keeping the quarterback upright and run blocking.
What I like about what we're doing too is we come in here and you sh- not to pat ourselves on the back, but you kind of show that you know ball a little bit when we start talking about teams, offensive linemen, and tackles. That's what we're doing here. You had an offensive tackle, I had an offensive tackle. Now we're showing some love to the guys in the trenches that really are the reason that these teams flow. And Spencer Fano and Maui Goa are the real deal in college football. So I'm glad we're talking about them and bringing them to to light here because, like you said, they don't always get the attention that they deserve, and the teams really flow from them. So round us out with your pick in the ACC, and I'll take on Dave's here, Bryant. Who do you got left on your list?
My last player here I want to talk about is Deuce Robinson, wide receiver for Florida State. He transferred in from USC. I think was number one or two wide receiver in the portal. This guy doesn't have eye-popping numbers at USC, but he can absolutely fly. And he's 6'6", 220 pounds. I mean, that is massive for a wide receiver. And he could possibly even be a tight end. It's insane how athletic and how big he is and how good he is with the ball. But we got to see the next step for him to be where he possibly can go. My only concern with him is Florida State was not good last year, and I don't know how good they're going to be next year. They got Castellanos from Boston College. I don't know if he's going to be their quarterback. If he is, it could be a little damper on Deuce Robinson, but I think he has all the intangibles he needs to be the number one wide receiver in this offense and possibly one of the best receivers in this conference if he can put together the athletic ability to play on the field. But he has all the opportunity in the world. There's not a whole lot of people on that offense. They had some guys transfer out. So it's his position. He's the number one receiver on this team, in my opinion. Can he go out and grab the by the horns and play like him is yet to see. But, I think he definitely does this year.
Yeah, he should be the guy at Florida State. He should be the best player on the offensive side of the ball. You touch on it a little bit. What scares me is Thomas Castellanos. I don't know if he can consistently get him the ball if he is the starting quarterback. So that makes me a little nervous for him. But like you said, the opportunity is there. He's a massive human being. He was heavily recruited out of high school. He is really, really damn good. I'm just a little nervous at what Florida State has to offer again. I'm not trying to sit here and rain on Florida State at all. Just nerves, man. You gotta show me a little something. I love their coaching staff. I'm not one to sit here and hate on them. I think what they do is right. I think they just missed last year at the quarterback position. I just hope for their sake they didn't miss again. And only time will tell us on that. I would imagine it's a probably pretty heavily fought quarterback battle throughout spring. I don't think they're just going to hand this thing to Castellanos. I think he has a lot to show from some things that I read. It wasn't looking great from him so far. So hopefully they right the ship and get it going before the season starts because Deuce Robinson is the real damn deal. So hope they find it.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, quarterback position is not set in stone with them. If they can figure that out, I think Deuce Robinson has a chance to be, like I mentioned, one of the best receivers for sure on this team and definitely in the conference. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm going to round us out in the ACC conference here with Dave's pick. I think this was a fantastic pick by Dave. Another Miami guy here on the other side of the ball. We have Ruben Bain, defensive end from Miami. Another massive human being, 6'3", 275, explosive defensive end, super fast, super long, good instincts. Could find himself as a day one pick in the draft as well. He is a top four returning defensive end with an 82.7 run defensive grade and can dominate offensive tackles to get to the quarterback and make things really, really difficult for the opposing team. I think Ruben Bain as well is a true difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. They can really lean on him. They can trust him to go make big time plays. He can bat the ball down because he is so long. This guy is really, really good. And don't be shocked, like I said, if you hear his name go in day one of the NFL draft, because I think he has all the talent in the world. They just got to get it out of him every single game. A little more consistency, and I think we'll go a long way with him.
Yeah, I don't see him as quite as dynamic as TJ Parker is, but he definitely could be just as good. He doesn't have quite the players around him to take the load off of him, but he's just talented enough to be able to do it himself. So this is a great pick by Dave. I think that Miami defense has a chance to be really good this season. And like I mentioned with TJ Parker and Clemson, I think he has a big chance to be a reason why. So he has all the intangibles and everything you want at that position. Like you mentioned, really good at the run. If he can get better rushing the passer, it's going to be a good year for him in this Miami defense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Bryant, what we have left is the Big Ten and the SEC, and we saved these two for last because these are two conferences where there is no shortage of All Americans. There is no shortage of guys that can make our Deep Threat Sports Network watch list, but we tried to limit it to three apiece, and then Dave threw us one apiece as well. So, we got to narrow this thing down. We got to make it really difficult. Some difficult decisions here, and some people listening might be like, well, why didn't you talk about this guy? because the Big Ten and the SEC are so damn deep. So, Bryant, why don't you kick us off with who you have first? Because I think this is the best player in college football. So, kick us off with who's on your watch list.
Yeah, mine's a pretty obvious pick here. He's a PFF All American for 2025 preseason. It's Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Um, Freshman year, he had over 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. It's literally insane. I don't see him taking a step back at all this coming season. He's probably the number one receiver in the country, in my opinion, and the next great wide receiver coming out of Ohio State. So, love Jeremiah Smith and everything he does. He plays the game exactly how you want a wide receiver to play. Can do it all: the route running, catching the ball, the after the catch, breaking tackles. He's the real deal, and there's a reason why he's probably the best player in the country.
I am comfortable saying this on record that Jeremiah Smith is the best college receiver that I remember watching in some time. It doesn't matter if you double cover him. It doesn't matter if you triple cover him. It doesn't matter if he's underneath, over top. You throw the ball in his direction, he's going to go get it. And Julian Sands, a quarterback coming in this season, I think he is better than Will Howard. There's going to be a little bit of growing pains, right? Doesn't have all kinds of experience, but I think when it comes to being a natural passer and reading a defense and being able to get the ball down the field, I can promise you with time, he will be better than Will Howard at getting the ball down the field. And that only makes Jeremiah Smith explode even more. They don't have a double headed running back tandem to take a little bit of heat off of him, but I don't think that hinders him at all. They still have Carnell Tate. Spoiler alert, Dave's guy, Max Clare, tied in, transferred in there. They have good talent around him to still alleviate a little bit of the pressure, but most teams know the ball is going to Jeremiah Smith and they cannot slow him down. This guy is unbelievable. Would have been the first receiver last year, would be the first receiver next year. If he stays healthy, Bryant, we are truly witnessing greatness at the receiver position, and Ohio State just does it again.
Absolutely. We just had Marvin Harrison Jr. come out of there, and everybody was saying the same thing about him. And Jeremiah Smith was just as good, in my opinion. Even if he
I
gets
think
double
he's better, Bryant.
yeah,
I'm comfortable saying he's legit
he's
leaps
he
and
can break
bounds
out of
better.
double. Yeah, he's unreal, especially for how young he was this past season and putting up those numbers. He looks like he can play in the league right now. So I agree with you. Big year coming up for him. It's going to be exciting to watch that offense, especially him.
Well, let me just stay with Ohio State and throw my first one out there because I think this is arguably the best defensive player in all of college football this season and was one of the best freshmen I've ever watched play college football, right next to Jeremiah Smith, even though he was a freshman at Alabama. And that's Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, who did transfer into Ohio State from Bama last season. He's the top returning player at his position for 2 straight seasons. That does not happen often. That's all according to PFF. That is a very rare feat. Doesn't happen very often at all. Started as a true freshman in 2023 for this Alabama football team. Nick Saban went on record saying he's one of the best freshman players he's ever been around. Could play both sides of the ball if they wanted to. I know there was talks last year of Ryan Day saying that, hey, we're going to get the ball in his hands on the offensive side just because he's that big of a freak at the football. And I know they didn't do it at all last year. I don't recall. They didn't need to. This is an unbelievable safety. I think he is true NFL caliber. He had a 91.7 grade as a safety per PFF. Just a difference maker, Bryant. Just a day one draft pick. I know safeties don't go all that often day one, and I know some teams have been really leery about taking safeties day one because they haven't always panned out here recently, especially for your day one picks. I would feel comfortable taking this guy 1-1 overall next year. I mean, when he's on the field, I mean, he is everywhere. He is involved in every single play. He gets downhill, makes tackles at the line of scrimmage, can play the ball, can go step down and play cornerback and cover up tight ends. I can't say enough about Caleb Downs. He is one of the best players that we are going to watch in college football this season.
Yeah, it's crazy that Ohio State probably has the best offensive player, maybe the best defensive player in Caleb Downs. I know that some Bama fans were really mad when he left Alabama because that's how good
Should
he
be.
really is. And he can do it in return. He can do it in the return game too. I know he returns punts every once in a while, so maybe see that this year as well. But like you mentioned, this guy is all around dynamic. Can play the ball. When you have a 91 grade as a safety, that's unbelievable. I mean, you're making all the plays. So Caleb Downs is for sure going to be on this list, and I think his play definitely shows why he should be. So, um, you know, Caleb Downs is going to have a great year, and he's going to be first round pick in my opinion. So, great pick there.
without question. Who you got now? Are we off Ohio State here for a second?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nick Singleton. Running back, Penn State. Everybody saw him last year. Had 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. He does have other running back there in Kaytron Allen, but they play so well together. This guy's more of the bruiser, dynamic between the tackles type runner. He can do it all. He is also very good at pass blocking too, which is big from that position as well. Probably the best running back in the Big Ten, in my opinion, possibly maybe even the country. This guy is as good as they get. It was great for Penn State to have this guy come back for this season. He's going to be their best player and a player they lean on to take some pressure off Drew Aller in that offense. So look for a big year for Nick Singleton and continue on what he did last season.
I would imagine that he becomes one of the first running backs taken in the draft. And if I could pound this table hard enough for James Franklin and Andy Kotelnicki to hear me at Penn State, I like Kaytron Allen. I like that Kaytron Allen keeps the tread fresh on Nick Singleton, but use Nick Singleton more. Use him more. There are times when they use Kaytron Allen when they shouldn't. And if Nick Singleton had the ball, there's been many times where I was like, I'm pretty confident if that ball would have went to Singleton right there to gain a yard, Nick Singleton would have got the yard. I am a big fan of Nick Singleton. I think he's one of the best running backs in college football. Like you said, Penn State had to be ecstatic to have him back. He is a pretty damn good pass blocker too. Whenever he has to drop back and block for Drew Aller, I think that this guy takes a ton of pressure off Drew Aller. Real excited to see the step that he takes. What a great season, especially splitting carries. So this guy's the real damn deal, and I'm excited to see what he has to offer again as well. Love that some of these guys come back and play college football a little bit longer. Really excited to see him. I'm going to stay off Ohio State as well for a minute and not talk about Penn State or Oregon either, surprisingly. And I'm going to go to a guy that I touched on a little bit last season throughout the season, and that's D'Angelo Pons, the cornerback from Indiana. He does not get enough attention, does not get enough coverage. He's also not the biggest guy in the field, but he will knock anybody's head smooth off and is not afraid to meet the biggest guy in the field at the 50-yard line head on. I love everything D'Angelo Pons has when he plays college football. He is a hard-nosed football player, and you don't always get that from the cornerback position. Sometimes you get the kind of the prima donna type from that cornerback position. Bryant, this guy is not that guy. He's going to take heads off. Per PFF, he's a top 15 cornerback in the country last year with a 91.8 grade. That is the highest among all college football returning corners. That is a fantastic keep for Indiana. That is a fantastic keep. I can't say that enough. Indiana is prone to lose guys. I can't say they're a feeder program. They took a massive step this last season, especially with a new coach. But man, oh man, what a great job keeping him on the team. He's a great coverage corner. He's great against the run game. Not afraid to step down and tackle a running back when he's running downhill at him. Love D'Angelo Pons. Pay attention when you watch an Indiana football game because he's a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, this guy's as dynamic as they get at the cornerback position in all of college football. I think, you didn't really see a whole lot of him because teams just avoided going to his side of the field because he was that good of a run protector, and also, covering guys on wide receivers on the outside. So he's the classic lockdown corner and the guy that can come down and hit you, even though he's really small, like you mentioned. So great pick here. He's going to be a big time player for them this year. And when you come in with a 91 grade, that's insane. Like similar to Caleb Downs, this guy is just as good. So look for him to be a dynamic player for them this coming season. So my last guy is I'm going back to the powerhouses. I'm going Oregon. I'm going defensive end Mateo Uiagalelei. I don't know if that guy's related to DJ. I'm not sure if I said that right, but
Yeah, it's his brother.
it's his brother.
Yeah,
That's
it's his
what I
brother.
thought, but that's what I thought. I just wasn't exactly sure. Unreal freshman year for him. Had 10 and a half sacks. Has all the intangibles at 6'5", 270 pounds. But he was kind of flying behind the radar last year being a freshman. Teams didn't really know how he played or who he was. So look for him to maybe get doubled this year and see how he can handle it. He's going to be a big time player for them, and the Oregon defense is phenomenal. So he's going to be a key piece for them. Let's see if he can build on the 10 and a half sacks he did last year and bounce into his sophomore season on a high note.
Yeah, he's first team all conference type guy. And what you said that I don't know if it clicked with people as they listened to this, but I'm gonna say it again. He's a DN and he's 6'5", 270. He's 6'5". That's
It's
a big
crazy.
boy, man. I mean, that's a long defensive end. That's a guy that can get his hands out on the offensive tackles early and kind of bully them and kind of anticipate what he wants them to do. Hold them up, make a move, go get the running back, go get the quarterback. Really like this pick, Brian. I think he is the best player on this Oregon defense, honestly. And I what you said though is true. I'm anxious to see how he picks up double teams a little bit and see if he can still play a little bit of that bully ball that he is kind of used to last season. I think he has all the talent in the world to do that, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out for him. Glad he stayed at Oregon. Yes, he is DJ's brother. He is the better Uwe Ugalele, as they would say. And am really excited to watch him progress and play another season in college football. This guy is an absolute freak and was highly, highly recruited. And I think it's all coming together for him this season as well. Really pumped up for that. I'm going to stay with the powerhouses as well here a little bit. I'll talk about another defensive guy, but over here at Penn State, and that is Zane Durant, a guy that does not get talked enough about, but obvious reasons are because you had a guy like Abdul Carter, gets all the attention, gets all the conversation, rightfully so. But let's not forget how good Zane Durant is. He is the next great defensive player for Penn State. They seem to kind of shit one of these guys out every single year that absolutely makes TV, makes Sports Center, and finds his way into the top picks in the draft. He had 14 tackles for a loss or no gain last season. That was the number one interior defensive lineman right there. Those numbers right there for him were the number one ranked in college football. He had 28 QB pressures. He was top 25 in that category as well. He has a very quick first step, especially for being an inside lineman. Has fantastic hands, can split the gap, fire through there. Some would say maybe he got to do that because of Abdul Carter. I'm here to say that it didn't really matter if Abdul Carter was there or not. This guy's just that damn good, and I think he is the next great for Penn State. Really, really excited to see what he does this season, and I think he will be another guy that is first team all conference on the defensive line as well.
Yeah, I think this guy's right up there with Peter Woods that we talked about earlier with Clemson. Game wrecker at this position, can do everything. He can stop the run. And when you have 14 tackles for loss, that just goes to show what you can do against the run game. And then also to top that off with 28 QB pressures. Um, Sometimes you don't even see that many numbers from the defensive end position where they have a better chance of doing that. So unreal from him last year. He's going to be one of their best guys on the defensive side of the ball. I'm excited for him. Like you mentioned, very quick for his size. He can do everything too with the moves, swim, rip, whatever he wants to do. So look for him to have a great season for that Penn State defense. Going to make them another powerhouse. I feel like in this coming season. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I hope so because with Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and Drew Aller on the offensive side of the ball again, they're kind of setting themselves up to kind of make some noise again. And not to dive too deep in that Penn State team, I don't know what they're going to do at receiver still yet, but I know that if they play really damn good defense and keep the scores low and they take the air out of the ball on the offensive side, they can make some noise. And it's going to start with him, and he's a really damn good player. Keep your eyes peeled for him when you watch a Penn State football game. Bryant, give us our last Big Ten pick over here from Dave on the Deep Threat Sports Network players to watch list in 2025.
Dave's got kind of an under the radar player here. We kind of talked about him a little bit earlier, but it's Max Clare, tight end for Ohio State, transfer in for Purdue. Had 684 yards last year, but isn't eye popping numbers. But Ohio State doesn't really need their tight end to be a Brock Bowers type player. I mean, he just needs to take some pressure off of the guys on the outside and be that safety blanket for them across the middle and be a good blocker for the running game. And I think exactly what he can be. He also can, even though I mentioned he doesn't need to be the dynamic player, he can be that guy. He's great in the red zone. Can kind of slide and find the gaps whenever need be in the zone defense in the end zone. So look for him to be that. Great pickup for them at the tight end position. He's going to be their starter, and he's going to play a lot of snaps for this offense.
Bryant, if Max Clare made noise with Purdue, Max Clare is going to make noise with Ohio State. Like you said, great security blanket for first year starter Julian Sayin. I'm projecting Julian Sayin as the starter at the quarterback position. I don't think that's really too hard of a fight right now at the quarterback position. I think he has it wrapped up. But with those 684 yards, Bryant, that is the most among Power Four returning tight ends. The guy played at Purdue. I'm very confident he's going to go put up some really damn good numbers at Ohio State. I'm pretty damn confident he could be a next level tight end. This is a great pick by Dave here. I think that Ohio State has all their bases covered on the offensive side of the ball, and I think he can alleviate some pressure from Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. I think he is a do-it-all tight end, can really get underneath and make some big-time plays and go get you a first down with the sure hands, like the Max Clare pick. Looking forward to seeing what he has to offer for Ohio State as well. With that being said, the last conference we're going to talk about, the SEC, loaded with guys that we could talk about as well. So, Bryant, kick us off here. Tell us who you got on your list because this is a top five offensive player in college football that you're about to talk about. So, give it to us.
100% going with the obvious pick here again. Another preseason All American according to PFF. And it's now 18-year-old Ryan Williams, the receiver from Alabama. The dude put up almost 900 yards and 8 touchdowns as a 17-year-old player in the best conference in college football. With a quarterback that wasn't the best at passing the football. So, he's right up there with Jeremiah Smith, in my opinion. I think they're 1A, 1B at this position. This guy he does it all, similar to Smith. He's not as big as him, but he's probably shiftier, runs better routes, I think, and can just absolutely do it all. He's a game wrecker, deep threat, can run over the slot, over the middle too, a slant pass and take it to the house. This dude is everything. There's a reason he reclassified and was one of the best players in his high school class at 17 years old. Looks like he can play in the league right now, even at that age. So Ryan Williams, that's my pick. Pretty obvious here, like I mentioned, but I mean, we can't leave him off this list.
No, he's like this is a bold take, but he's like the better Devontae Smith, better Henry Ruggs. Like he's like
Mm-hmm.
the very similar to those guys, very shifty, can burn you down the field. Like you said, man, he was doing this shit at 17 years old. He's out there playing with grown damn men in the SEC conference, and it did not scare him. He was the guy at Alabama last year. He will be the guy at Alabama this year. I just hope they can get him the ball successfully, and I hope he keeps putting up these staggering numbers because what he's the pace he's on is incredible. Really like Ryan Williams. Really looking forward to seeing what he has to offer this season as well. I think he is the next great at Alabama, and I'm excited for that as well. Cannot say enough good things about Ryan Williams. I'm going to move over to the South Carolina Gamecocks, and if anybody followed our show last year, they probably already know who I'm going to say because this is my favorite player in college football. That's Dylan Stewart, the defensive end. Holy shit. I can't say enough good things about this guy. I raved about him so much last season as a true freshman. True number one pick upside as long as he keeps progressing. He had a 91.4 pass rush grade as a true freshman. That's top six in all of college football last year. He had 6.5 sacks. Truly, in my opinion, he is the most physically gifted pass rusher in this sport. I mean, this dude is unbelievable. He needs to improve a little bit at reading the rush and getting to the running back when he's coming through the gaps. But if he fixes that and crafts that a little bit, Brian, he's got every single thing you would want in a defensive end. This is a big kid, and that's right. He is still a kid. He's still young. Going into this sophomore season, I expect nothing but great things from Dylan Stewart on this defensive line. Look out for him. I think he is all American defensive end potential.
Yeah, if your only flaw is getting a little too deep on some pass rushes or run plays and letting the C gap open a little bit, as a true freshman in the SEC, you're doing pretty well. And like you mentioned, having the over 90 pass rush grade, that's unbelievable. He's one of my favorite players too. He's going to be on my list, but I knew he was going to be on yours, so I'll let you have him. Like you mentioned, this guy's a game breaker. He can do it all. There was a reason he was highly sought after out of high school, like a lot of these guys are. Um, I agree with you. He's truly has number one overall pick potential at this position for sure. He does have a little bit to improve, like you mentioned in the run game, but this guy's got the intangibles. He's got the speed, the moves, the size, the quickness. Could even drop back, like I mentioned, some other players in our list earlier. He can do it all. One of the best players in college football.
Yeah, he's South Carolina's next Jadeveon Clowney player. Truly.
Absolutely, he's not that big, but he's that big of a difference maker for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's gonna take some heads off. So who do you got next? It looks like you have a defensive end as well. Spoiler here. So why don't you just keep talking about that position for us real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Colin Simmons out of Texas. Now, he's kind of a hybrid linebacker, defensive end, can do both things. And I think he's the best player at doing that in the country, being the Micah Parsons type player that can cover guys also as well as rush the passer at a high level. Had 9 sacks last year as a true freshman. Was one of the most highly sought players in the country out of high school from Duncanville, which is a powerhouse school in Texas. Played great for this Texas team, even though he wasn't a full time starter. He was one of their best players on the defensive side of the ball. This guy is athletic as they come. Like I mentioned, he can do both rush the passer and drop back and defend a tight end or a receiver over the middle. Look for him to do the same this coming season in 2025. He's probably going to be their best player on defense.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be up there. He's going to be a name that's talked about before every Texas game when all these broadcasters do their players to watch for the game on the defense side of the ball. He is going to be the name that's mentioned. This guy is an absolute freak, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. And he may not have been a full time guy last year. He's going to be a full time guy this year. And I agree with you. He could be number one or number two on the defense side of the ball for Texas. Really damn good defense. A lot of talent to replace, but having Colin Simmons just to round that out definitely helps a hell of a lot. And this is a great pick by you. Can't say enough good things about him. Who I'm going to talk about next, I'm going to stay right here with South Carolina. Talk about quarterback Lenora Sellers. Big Lenora Sellers fan, especially everything he showed down the stretch of the season. He's a true difference maker. The one thing I want to see from him is he needs to take the next step and dial in as a passer a little bit more. Limit some turnovers, and he very well could end up being the best quarterback in 2025 season if he does those things. He is arguably the most physically talented quarterback in college football. This is a big kid, has an absolute rocket for an arm, and is a physically gifted runner with the football at the quarterback position. I'm here to say these numbers don't happen often, Bryant. I truly think he's a guy that could throw for over 3,000 yards and rush for over 1,000 yards in the same season. This is not done often, but this is a guy that has new talent to do that. And I think down the road, we've talked about maybe doing a bold takes episode. Spoiler, that's going to be my bold take. I think this guy has everything I want in a quarterback. What he showed a little bit was just some growing pains last year. We talked all the time about that next step, having the continuity, having Nick Harbor at your receiver position. This is a guy that is going to be a difference maker, and I think he could lead South Carolina on the offense side of the ball to do big things this season.
Absolutely. I mean, Lenore Sellers plays a Cam Newton like game. If he can clean it up on throwing the ball a little bit better than he did last season, I totally agree with you. He can be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. This guy is unreal at evading pressure. This dude does not get sacked, and he can make plays when there's nothing, when there's not a play to be made. I think he's going to continue to do that for South Carolina next season. He's their quarterback. He's their guy, and he's got a lot of good players around him. So definitely looking forward for a big year for him in 2025. And this was a great pick. He truly can do almost everything you ask of him to do. So, like I mentioned, he does have to clean it up passing a little bit, but a lot of these quarterbacks do in college football. So, look for him to make a big step forward in 2025 for sure.
Without a doubt. And Bryant, give me your last pick in the SEC. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this one. I promise you, nobody saw this coming. Not because he's not a good player, just because it's a team that flies under the radar, and it's a guy that's flying under the radar as well. Go ahead and give it to us.
My last player to watch in the SEC is Ahmad Hardy, running back for the University of Missouri. Was one of the best running backs in the country last year, albeit was at Louisiana Monroe. Ran for 1,351 yards as a true freshman and 13 touchdowns. Being picked by multiple guys I'm reading online as a top 10 running back in the country, and I can see that happening. Mizzou does have some question marks on the offensive line, but Louisiana Monroe did too, and he made absolutely every play. And I'm not making this comparison, but if you watch his film, this guy plays exactly like Ashton Genty does. He is so shifty. He's breaking every tackle, and he's not getting taken down on the first tackle or the second, and sometimes even the third. This dude has it all. He can catch the ball as well. So look forward to him to be one of the best running backs. He might be one of the better running backs in this conference. I've seen some people pick him as the number one running back in this conference. I don't know if I'd buy that, but Ahmad Hardy is going to be, an absolute stud to watch, and I'm excited for him to be on our Missouri Tigers.
He definitely has first team all conference ability at the running back position in the SEC. Now, if like it translates into the SEC from playing down at ULM, that's the only thing I have that's a little bit nervous. I mean, when you take those hits week in and week out, but this guy has it all. I mean, there was a reason every team wanted this guy. There's a reason that he's on all these lists. There's a reason he's on your list and my list and our show's list. I mean, this guy is the real damn deal. Be on the lookout for him. He was like the one bright spot that ULM had last season. And what I like about him as well is Mizzou is really good at utilizing their running backs and making the most out of them. I mean, look what we've done with all the running backs in the last few years at getting the most out of these guys. And then this Cody Schrader stepped up from a Division II school and came in and was an all conference running back. I mean, this Mizzou will get the most out of Ahmad Hardy, and I think that he is truly one of the best running backs in the country. So I'm glad you addressed this and brought this to everybody's attention because if you're not hearing about him, now you are if you listen to us. And don't forget it when we say I told you so, by week 7 this coming season because he is a fantastic running back.
Yeah, and he's the perfect zone running back. Can stick his foot and shoot up the field, and that's what Mizzou runs is the zone running game. So look for him to have a bunch of big runs this season. He doesn't really have a drastically whole lot of competition at the position, so I think it's going to be his position to have, and I think he's gonna show out. And I look forward to him having a big year in 25.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. My last pick in the SEC is when we were saying earlier that Colin Simmons is like number 1, number 2, or number 3 for that Texas defense. It's only maybe because this guy right here might be better, and that's Anthony Hill, the linebacker from Texas. He's been starting since a true freshman, has plenty of experience, will be a first round pick in the upcoming draft. Very confident in saying that, if not the first linebacker taken. Has a true nose for the football. He is first to impact the ball carrier every single time. Had 32 coverage stops last year. That's tied for the most among Power Four, according to PFF. Also had 10 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, also tied for the most in the Power Four conferences. The best linebacker in the country, I feel. This guy is really, really damn good and just another great player on this Texas defense. Love what Texas does with this defense. I think it schemes up very well for him. And like I said, he can cover, he can go get the ball carrier, he can go get the quarterback if he needs to. Love Anthony Hill. Will be arguably the best player on the field at all times whenever they are playing football.
Yeah, it's crazy. He'd have 10 sacks as a linebacker. This dude is so fast at that position. It's kind of hard to believe that he's a linebacker. It almost seems like he should be a slot receiver on the other side of the ball. But he has some of the most experience in college football, especially at this position. And I think it's going to show dividends in 2025. The 5 forced fumbles as well. He can do it all, man. He's there. He's going to be one of the best linebackers coming up in the 26th draft in the NFL, I believe. So look for him to have a big year. Man, this Texas defense is going to be stout. We had 2 guys on our list, and there's plenty of other guys we could have talked about from that team. They just pump out defensive players year in and year out, and these guys are going to be more to add to that list.
Oh, it's crazy. They are producing top tier talent on the defense side of the ball for sure, year in and year out. The last guy we're going to talk about in the SEC is Dave's pick, and that is Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback from LSU. I know Dave has him down, but one thing that I'm going to say about this is I can go on record and say that I think Nussmeier finds himself as pick 1-1 in next year's draft. I'm going to say the asterisk next to that is if Arch Manning does not go. I don't know what Arch Manning is going to do, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to us are questioning why we did not talk about Arch Manning. We did talk about Arch Manning because Arch Manning has not done enough, in my opinion, to make this list. These are guys that have proven talent that we are very comfortable in saying this is our watch list. But Arch Manning's pedigree is why Arch Manning could probably go 1-1 over Nussmeier, but family tradition shows that they stay for another season. So that's why I'm saying I'm comfortable saying that I could see Nussmeier go 1-1. Dude has an absolute cannon, threw for over 4,000 yards last season, and I think he takes another big step in the right direction. He made the right decision coming back for another year to perfect his craft. He is fantastic in the pocket and can make every single throw on the football field. There is no throw that I would not feel comfortable. How do I say this? There's no throw that Nussmeier would make that I would not feel comfortable with him making, if that makes any sense. I mean, he can make every single throw. If he improves the accuracy just a tick and limits the turnovers under pressure, he could be the best quarterback in the country and comfortably taking 1-1. The only reason that I get a little nervous about that too is because he does not run the football. He is a true
Yeah.
pocket passing quarterback. I don't know if NFL teams love that as much anymore, but I would feel very damn comfortable if my NFL team took Nussmeier next year 1-1. That is unless something catastrophic happens this season and he looks like he's never played football before. But LSU has their next great quarterback. I love that he came back. It was the best decision for him. I am completely sold on Garrett Nussmeier. I think he lights up Nick Anderson. I think them two get it going early and often. Love everything he has to offer, and he might save Brian Kelly's job for one more season.
I was gonna say the only detriment might be Brian Kelly, but no, Garrett Nussmeier is as good as they get. You know, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, true passing quarterback in the college football. But like you mentioned, he does not run. I think if they can work in some bootleg type plays to get him out of the pocket and get him comfortable doing that in practice, I think he could definitely improve from that front. But this dude is, like you mentioned, has an absolute cannon. If he improves the accuracy a little bit, he's going to be almost impossible to defend passing the ball in this offense. Definitely agree with you that coming back was his best decision for him. So good pick here by Dave. I expect big things out of Nussmeier this year. It's his position. He has nothing to worry about. Let's see if he can take that next step and hone in his game like he came back to do, and be that great next quarterback to come out of Louisiana State University.
Yeah, without a doubt, I love Garrett Nussmeier. And to wrap this up real quick, we have some SEC honorable mentions. We didn't do this for some other conferences, but we had a lot of guys that we were debating back and forth with who should be on this list. So just to kind of throw out some of those guys that we really felt bad about leaving off our list in the SEC, and that's Eli Stowers, tight end from Vanderbilt, Jermod McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee, Arch Manning, quarterback from Texas, DJ Lagway, quarterback from Florida, Caden Proctor, offensive lineman from Alabama, Caden Green, offensive lineman from Mizzou, Jake Slaughter, offensive lineman from Florida, and LT Overton, defensive lineman from Alabama. All great players. You could see any of those names on the SEC All Conference first team, and it would not surprise any of us here on this network. But this is our list. This is who we're comfortable with. Hope you guys learned some new names out there, or if you had some questions about some guys, heard their name, heard some information on them, or hell, hopefully we sold you on some guys. And now, if you do a fantasy football team in college football or something, you go scoop up some of these offensive guys. I think our list is fantastic. Very comfortable with everybody we picked. Bryant, tell me kind of how you're feeling, and then I'll take us out of here.
No, I think it was due to have some honorable mention picks for the SEC just because it's so deep. I mean, if you have Eli Stowers and Caden Green and Caden Proctor and Arch Manning on your honorable mention, you're those some of those guys are all Americans preseason in 2025. So look forward to big years from those guys as well. But yeah, great picks we had this week on the show for 2025. Looking forward to diving in a little deeper to some of the teams they play on and doing some bold takes on that as well coming forward. Like we mentioned earlier, it's a little bit of a slow time. So we're trying to do the best we can and give you guys the content that we see fit. And I think this was a great time to kind of address and move on per se to 2025 and some of the guys to watch for next season.
Without a doubt. Fantastic episode, Bryant. Happy to have you here again for another episode on Deep Threat Sports Network. This was fantastic. Anybody has any questions? You want to tell us our list sucks? Tell us our list is great. Tell us some guys that you wish we would have talked about. Do that. We'll fill you in on those guys. We'll talk about them. Maybe our next episode. So you can follow us on X at DT_sports_, Instagram Deep Threat Sports with a Z, Facebook Deep Threat Sports Network, Spotify and YouTube at Deep Threat Sports. That's Bryant. I'm Colin. Let us know if there's any content you want to talk about. We'll make sure and do that. But hey, until next time, Bryant, peace.